credible developers are doing. They attempt to do it, but have we really made rapid leaps in terms of the quality which we are delivering to the consumer?
I think we have. Every developer is spending a lot of time, a lot of effort, and building up teams to make sure that the quality which is being delivered to the end consumer is far superior. The services being provided in the units are far better. Simply, it has a lot to do with our own interest. The moment we start getting more efficient and more quality conscious, we start reducing our wastages so that we can control prices. To give a very simple example of Noida West, the construction was stalled for nearly a year. Prices have gone up during that year, interest costs have piled up, and then the developer is forced to deliver at the price we committed. CREDAI made sure all the developers committed to not increase prices for the existing buyers.
Right.
So at that point, you're forced to make sure that your quality doesn't suffer, as well as you deliver it at the same price, which is quite an impossible task.
Which is very difficult. So basically, then you launch phase 2 and you have to recover the cost from the next set of buyers.
A lot of developers are taking a hit. In fact, a lot of developers have been crying foul in CREDAI forums. They're like, you're forcing us not to raise prices, we can't survive.
All right, but there are still complaints in terms of, corners being cut, and I'm not saying in terms of the quality which is delivered. Super area to carpet area is a big issue with the consumer. Anil, so tell us, is there some kind of norm which is coming from CREDAI when it comes to what should be the benchmark for super carpet area to super area? Because if you do top down, it could go anywhere between 25 as much as 30 to 40%. If you do bottoms up, then maybe very good projects, lucky 15, even then 25%. So I just want to know, why can't we have a benchmark on super carpet area by CREDAI?
Manisha, in fact, you have taken words from our heart, because CREDAI has in fact done a great job in formulating a formula for each and every CREDAI member developers. We have signed a model code of conduct, and we have made a book, Mission Transparency, wherein we have categorically defined what is the carpet area, what is the super area. This should be common to every developer.
What is it? What is that figure?
See, I'll tell you. That figure we cannot quantify like that. Wall-to-wall distance. It's a provision in the code for the carpet area. So wall-to-wall distance area is that is called carpet area, and thereafter if you give some projections or use common area, so there is a perfect calculation in our sheet, so that we can arrive at exactly, we all can commonly arrive at one consensus that for particular carpet area how much should be the super area or sellable area.
Okay.
So this code has to be followed by each and every developer member of CREDAI. And number two, we have also categorically defined a lot of things which will be taken in common area. What will happen to the lift lobby, lift.
I think they have been defined, and I will not take away the credit from CREDAI, because definitely this is one body which has worked relentlessly in making the industry come to better and better practices. But Rohit, it's still a huge concern. This is an area of concern, and I think physically it's very difficult for me as a consumer to map out that area, but inevitably when I go, I see a sample apartment, and this has happened. It may not be happening as frequently, and the practice may not be so rampant, but it does still happen. I'm showed a sample apartment, and then when I actually buy the product, it's different, and it's area-wise, it's definitely smaller.
Manisha,
so can we do something to make sure that doesn't happen?
Sure. See, Manisha, we are here talking about reforming practices of an industry which probably in terms of numbers is second to agriculture in this country. So it is a task which is an uphill task, and you are pushing the boulder up the hill all the time. But the heartening fact is that it is happening. We see inch by inch progress happening on a daily basis in this regard. I would take your point on this. As you were asking, Anil, there is no quantifiable formula, but what CREDAI has done in the code of conduct, it has defined the spaces, and it has said that the agreement must be transparent. The buyer should know before signing on the dotted line that this is the super area and this is my built up area. Okay, so what I am actually getting. As long as he knows then it's his judgmental call whether he likes that product or he doesn't like that product.
And when he sells it, he will also sell it on the same parameters.
And it is completely defined that what you add into a built-up and what you exclude from a built-up and you take it into a common pool area, which when you put together is called a sellable area. We are saying that there is no term called super built-up area anymore. The term is sellable area. You don't know what is super area. It's not like a Superman. Okay, but you know what is a sellable area? That this is I am selling to you and you're buying from me. So we are pushing for a sellable area definition where there's a full transparency. And yes, there are bad apples everywhere. So there would be stray cases where you would see a sample flat where the scale of the sample flat is different compared to what you get. But we are insisting in our agreement that all agreements would attach the drawing of the apartment with all the dimensions mentioned. The developer will specify in the agreement carpet area, built-up area, area. These three areas have to be defined in the agreement.
All right, so that's a very important point coming to all of you, that you must look at all those three in your agreement. Sanjay, the other big, I know I'm going to be championing the cause of the consumer here, but then I've got a team here which is of course going to answer as well. Execution delays.
Yeah,
From
that is the biggest risk.
What do you do about that? And I'm saying, after having done this topic several times over, understanding the developer's point of view, understanding that it's not always in their hands, how do you deal with execution delays? It's a huge mental and emotional trauma to the end consumer if he's not an investor. I'm qualifying here if it's an end buyer.
See, Manisha, what happens is that reputable lenders, we do a sort of a project level approval in the beginning, which doesn't only take care about legal technical aspects, but also on the reputation and the past delivery, I would say report card of a particular developer. And that is how we go forward. And most of the times we are not doing cash down or front end disbursements or accelerated. We are linking it to construction. And yes, I would say that is the biggest sort of a risk which one buys, is the delivery risk. And that the banks buy, the consumer buys, everybody buys that risk. But we really can't, I would say, get around it. But there's, talking about the developers, there's also a misplaced sense of justice, I would say. You take example of Greater Noida or the expressway, right? What was wrong with the developers? There was, I don't think there was, much to do with the developers. They followed a quasi-government organization or an authority, and they were footing the bill. Now, all of a sudden, if it is stalled, yes, there would be delays of about 18 months or 24 months on those projects, but that is circumstantial. Now, obviously, a lender just waits in the wings and sort of gets around. The customer is always negotiating with the developer to deliver as fast as possible. But yes, I mean,
it's something
lenders,
that it's a reality which is facing all of us.
Lenders can't do much about it.
Right. So you're accepting that is a huge big problem.
That is the biggest risk.
Bharat, why can't you at least set better expectations? Most of the developers, they know that there will be delays, whether in, first of all, projects may get launched without full approvals. Again, CREDAI is doing something about it, which you can talk about. Even then, I think if you could just set realistic expectations, wouldn't that be better? Rather than saying, I will deliver to you in 36 months, why not build that extra 12 months and say, okay, there could be some delays and I'll deliver in 4 years.
First, touching upon what CREDAI is doing, the issue is that CREDAI is saying that you cannot sell any project which is not approved completely. We've not allowed any projects displayed in this expo.
So what are these approvals which must be already in hand?
Ready with a construction permit, which includes change of land use, payment of charges, approval of plans, NOCs, everything should be in place, upon which you get a construction permit.
Right.
So you cannot come out and start selling a project.
Sanjay won't even finance a project which doesn't have all these approvals, isn't it? So those are already taken care of and delays still happen.
See, if you break down the delays, it is related to finance, the intent of the developer, your construction and your permissions, And lastly, your drawings. Finance and intent of the developer is on the developer side. The moment you get into permissions, changing of requirements midway through the project by the government, non-compliance by the consultants or giving you the drawings, accurate drawings, not going through changes and revisions constantly.
Yes.
There is no control over that. For example, we don't do construction ourselves. We mostly get construction done through large contractors like Ahluwalia. They are capable of doing the construction within 30 months, not 36. But if the project is required with certain drawings, I don't have a recourse against my consultants.
You don't?
I don't, other than
But
holding up the
would you not
payments.
sign a contract which would have penalty clauses?
What are you going to do? I have a 100 crore project, you have a consultant's fee, maybe about 5 to 6 crores. By the time the delays start happening, you've paid them 3 to 4 crores. If I hold back or deduct 2 crores, it doesn't make any difference. I've lost far more in interest, far more in credibility. Nobody is looking at which is the architect or the consultant who's delaying it. They're like, Bharat, you're the one who promised me, and you're responsible.
Absolutely.